Good morning, afternoon, or evening, depending on what time you're watching this. I'm Owen Hillman, and I'm along with my co-host Grant Hillman. We are now in episode 10 of the Gritz Blitz podcast. I wore a special jersey for the occasion. You want to take a guess into what it is, Grant?
Dude, I haven't the slightest.
This is, some people will say this is Jordan Love, but this is actually Allen Iverson. His high school, he was a QB in high school. He was a
Man.
QB in high school, and like they somehow have the exact same color as the Packers. So I have an Allen Iverson Packers jersey on. I found this like at a store like right next to where we live. I forgot what it was called, but it's just so crazy that I was able to find this specific jersey. And I feel like
It's
it's
pretty funny.
perfect time. Absolute perfect time for our 10th episode special. But been a crazy week. March Madness just kicked off.
Yes.
Georgia had a very brief
Oh
March
my
Madness
God.
experience. They got completely like mollywopped by St.
Yeah.
Louis in that one.
It was not even close. I mean, I was at a bar completely just emptied out after about 10 minutes in the game. I watched about 10 minutes of it and went outside. I was just there's no point. Yeah, that was it was an embarrassment more than anything.
I don't know. There was some part of me that was like I wasn't expecting it. Like it feels
Yeah.
super unexpected because of just how good Georgia was in the regular season. I saw this like from a post from Grand Coffee or something. He Georgia has never lost by more than 20 in the regular season. They did not lose by more than 20 in this regular season, and they only lost by 15 once in the entire regular season. Even against Ole Miss, like that was a close
Right.
game as well. They lost. But like this 30-point loss where like it feels like Georgia couldn't get anything going from
Nothing.
three
It
or
was
even
it
from the
wasn't a
rim.
good game from the beginning. Just absolutely nothing from the beginning.
It just got absolutely dominated at the rim too. Like they
Yeah.
had 66 points. St. Louis had 66 points against Georgia in the paint. It was an absolutely brutal loss, but I think we can officially, thank God we can stop talking about Georgia basketball on this podcast. At least
Right.
for a little while. They might have some talent on the team, but who knows? But this is a football podcast after all, and we are going to talk about the other side of the coin now in free agency. That is the NFC. We discussed the AFC last week. The episode just came out on that, and I'll be posting it to the YouTube tonight or tomorrow night. But now we're going on to the NFC. We still first have to start about something in the AFC, though, which is the Jalen Waddle trade. After we released the episode, the Dolphins traded 25-year-old Jalen Waddle to the Denver Broncos for their first round pick, a third and a fourth round pick. This was a crazy trade. This was
Yeah.
absolutely nuts. Did not expect this coming. Grant, who do you think got more out of this trade?
I mean, I think it goes without saying that Miami definitely got more out of this trade. I do think that Denver needed receiver depth. Actually, I think that goes without saying. Obviously, Denver needed receiver depth, but more than anything, they needed a wide receiver one. And to me, Jalen Waddle still has not stepped into that role in general. I don't really see him as a wide receiver one. I see him as a wide receiver two with lots of upside. So to give up that much capital for a wide receiver two, I don't understand it. I really don't.
I mean, there are a couple people are saying like Waddle still has a step to grow. And he's
Yeah,
25 years old. Like I think he could like become, I don't think he's like a Devonta Smith where like he doesn't have the frame to be a wide receiver one. I think that he
I
could be
agree with
like
that.
that if especially for Sean Payton's offense, which thrives on a lot of short passes and a lot of like, I don't know what to say, Shanahan style, because Sean Payton has been running it much longer than Shanahan, but just a lot of like mid midfield concepts, a lot of slants. I could see Jalen Waddle thriving in that system. So that's why I'm going to say that the Broncos actually got more out of the deal. With the
I
30th
do
pick,
agree with that, but the capital in which you're giving up for a guy that isn't a celebrated wide receiver one is where, I'm not happy with that, if that makes sense. I think that he still is a wide receiver two at the end of the day. Whether or not he becomes a wide receiver one, you're paying for that gamble and a first round pick, third round pick, and a fourth round pick. I'll granted the fourths cancel out. I don't know. Seems like a little bit of a gamble.
but in this draft, I mean, this draft is like not very. The Broncos definitely needed to draft I feel like they need to draft somebody like in the corner room with the 30th overall pick. But this draft is not super deep when you look past like the top 50 or 75 guys. So I think the Dolphins like I could see the Dolphins getting somebody very good out of this draft. I don't know if they're going to get anything out of the third and fourth round pick because it's basically like it's borderline like a fourth and a fifth round pick and a borderline second round pick because it's so late in the draft. But looking at the Dolphins roster, it feels much more insane than the Malik Willis signing, but they still have Devon Achane on the roster. So do you think that the Dolphins strike a deal with Devon Achane to a contending team this offseason or even during the trade deadline?
I could very well see him ending up somewhere like Seattle, a team
Yep.
that has a role to fill at running back. However, we have seen that the Dolphins have said that they're not moving on from Achane. However, I don't really know what that means. I really have no idea what that means with this Miami
Yeah.
team that needs a full reset. So I very well could see him getting traded. And I could see him getting traded somewhere like Seattle.
Yeah, I get why I get that you don't want to surround Willis with nothing, but Devon Achane is at his highest value right now. He's 23, 24 years old. He just had one of the best seasons of his career. He's been honestly carrying this Dolphins offense in the years where Tua Tagovailoa's fallen off of a cliff and Tyreek Hill was injured this year. This was the year of Devon Achane. So the Dolphins, I don't want to say they're not going to get like a reasonable value for Devon Achane if they wait, but this could be a big offer for a team if they
Definitely.
decide
This
to
could be the
trade
highest
Devon
he
Achane.
ever is in his career value-wise.
Absolutely, 100%. Seattle, though, seems like the most logical place to for Devon Achane to land, and we'll talk about them in a little bit. But let's go from the AFC to the NFC East, starting with the Dallas Cowboys. They still haven't figured out an extension for George Pickens, their wide receiver, one or two-ish, I guess. They have no progress on that front, although they did acquire Green Bay Packers edge rusher Rashad Gary to stabilize their pass rush. They did re-sign Javonte Williams and Brandon Aubrey. It just seems like there's a lot of questions surrounding that Pickens extension and what the Cowboys are going to do at edge rush. Do you see Dallas handing out an extension to George Pickens over the offseason? I think my connection is unstable, not gonna lie.
So we have seen some restructuring happening within Dallas regarding contracts. So I do think that they're making room for something. That being said, they're not in a position where they absolutely need to re-sign Pickens. That's something they could do during the season. That's something they could do after next season. I could see it happening, but I want to know what they're making space for. Very well could be a George Pickens extension. If that's the case, then definitely.
Yeah, a George Pickens extension, or maybe figuring out the pass rush, maybe like adding another player into the pass rush, which brings me to my next question. Do you think Rashad Gary is that guy that can evolve into an elite pass rusher? Do you think the Dallas Cowboys look for somebody else in the trade market?
I still think the Cowboys should be looking around. I think
Yeah.
that another player with Rashad Gary's level could really turn this pass rush around to be what it needs to be for them to make a push for not only the playoffs, but the conference championship, especially with how their interior D line is looking right now with Williams. I could very well see that team honestly having a very nasty front four. So I would love to see them get another depth piece at edge, and that would completely turn around this team's problems. And I just want to say, so far, I kind of want to give it up to Jerry Jones for somehow managing to turn around that Micah Parsons trade, and it seems as though they're salvaging it. It's not the best it could have been, and who can't really say that I would still not prefer to have Micah Parsons over, this front four that they're currently at. But I will say that they have been doing a good job of damage control, a very good job.
It'll be absolutely. They got a good pick out of this, like the 24th pick from the Packers. They got Kenny Clark to really stabilize the defensive line alongside Quinnen Williams. And that gets my main point. I think the Cowboys should be players for Max Crosby. I think the Cowboys should try
Right.
trading for Max Crosby for sure. I don't know if I'd be comfortable giving up the 12th pick in the draft, but Dallas has multiple first round picks throughout the next couple seasons. They can easily just play around. They can easily just trade that Packers pick away. I think they
Right.
give next year's pick. I think next year's pick goes to the Jets in the Quinnen Williams deal, but they could easily trade 2028's first round pick or even a second round pick, maybe even a quality player to the Raiders for Max Crosby. So I think that Dallas should. try that, and I think they will because Jerry Jones, he's ultra aggressive for trading for these kind of pieces to revitalize the squad.
Yes.
But it just feels like there's a lot of questions right now, and it there's a lot of like cautious optimism in Dallas. Like that it feels like that it's not done right now in Dallas.
Yes.
But you don't know
Good
how
way of
it's
putting it.
going to
It's
resolve.
not done. And especially with, like I said, them restructuring these contracts this season, that's notable because it means that they are shopping for something else. They're going to make a move. We just don't know what that move is yet, whether it's a Pickens extension. However, I could very well see them making a push for Crosby, especially with his value perhaps being a little bit less than it was before the Baltimore trade. Now with Hendrickson being off the market, and who's to say that Max Crosby's physical evaluations maybe did not go as planned? I obviously don't think that's the reason why Baltimore backed out of it fully, but who's to say that that still won't affect his value in the market? So I could very well see Dallas make a push for a guy like that.
Yeah, I can't wait till draft day when Dallas gets the 12th pick just to see who's available too. If they don't draft an edge guy, I feel like they're gonna definitely look for Crosby. But meanwhile, their in-division rival, the Eagles, are in a cold war with their star wide receiver, A.J. Brown. A trade feels inevitable at this point, but there hasn't been any news on a deal. The Eagles struck down an offer from the Patriots earlier in the month. Just what do you think is the final offer for A.J. Brown that the Eagles end up trading for?
At this point, with the JSN extension, I have no idea. Seems like the receiver market just keeps uh, growing and growing and growing. We feel like we're getting further and further from a market reset with these kind of moves. It's just, I mean, with Puka's extension coming up on top of that, I have no idea what they're going to end up valuing a guy like AJ Brown, who I will say this. AJ Brown obviously is a phenomenal wide receiver, one of the best wide receivers in the league, but has had a really quiet season, as we all know. Very quiet season. And I won't say that that's worrisome, but I will say that it does worry me a little bit to pay the absolute top dollar for a guy like that, or at least trade-wise. So I don't know. I mean, I really have no idea with AJ Brown. I still think that he's a phenomenal player, easily one of the best wide receivers in the league. But man, and we don't know if Jamar Chase or Justin Jefferson could possibly be in the market in the next few seasons, depending on how things go in the quarterback room with Minnesota and Cincinnati. I don't know. I really don't.
Yeah, it could be a major wide receiver power dynamic with this JSN extension and wherever AJ Brown ends up going. I think he's got to get out of there regardless. The Patriots, I think the Eagles might have like rejected a first rounder from the Patriots. I don't want to say for certain, but the Eagles, I don't know if they're gonna. I'm curious whether or not they're gonna get a first rounder out of a trade with New England or even Los Angeles. I could see them having to settle for a second for AJ Brown at this point,
Right.
just
If they
because.
end up feeling the need to be pushed into a trade here, I could definitely see that.
Yeah. And do you think this AJ Brown move causes the Jenga tower to collapse? Do you think this causes the Eagles to potentially like lose sync and like maybe miss the playoffs too at this core?
I won't say miss the playoffs because I still don't think that Washington is going to bounce back in the way that they need to be a contender for the division in order for that to be an issue with them losing 2 games a season. And I'm still not really worried about New York in the infant stages of the rebuild. With
Mm,
that being about 4 free wins for Philadelphia, I don't see them missing the playoffs quite yet. However, I could very well see it. Yeah, I think Jalen Hurts' subpar play has been an issue. It's been something that has been talked about, but not seriously enough. Guys, Jalen Hurts is not elite. Look at his stat lines. Look at how he plays. He's not elite. And I don't want to take anything from the guy. I think he's a hell of an athlete, but he's not elite. And I don't know how much longer non-elite quarterback play is going to get Philadelphia to where they need to be. And that's insane, saying from a team that just won a Super Bowl. But it's not enough to carry this team in the same way that it is for a team like Kansas City that can make the Super Bowl, even though they have absolutely nobody in their wide receiver depth and obviously a phenomenal defense, but that goes same way with Philadelphia. But I mean, look at that Super Bowl last season, where you had the Chiefs who ended up getting absolutely dominated by the Eagles in that, but So with these key weapons like AJ Brown, Devontae Smith being a guy who has a lot of value at wide receiver too, very well could be shipped off for a second rounder. Saquon Barkley is, playing absolutely as well as he needs to, and very well could be enough for this offense to keep running, but we don't know. I mean, a running back getting the amount of touches that Saquon might need to take this team to the playoffs might not bear well to his health. Very well could be the Jenga Tower collapse. Very well
Yeah.
could be.
Oh man, I think if I'm a Cowboys fan, I'm relishing in the drama that the Eagles are dealing with over the offseason with this AJ Brown debacle and the Jalen Hurts talk. I think I'm definitely relishing this, and I'm thinking if I'm a Cowboys fan that they can compete for the division as well with maybe just one
Yeah,
or two more moves. They just need to get a
definitely.
quarterback and an edge rusher. That team was really good
Yeah.
at offense last season.
Oh my God, Dak
So
Prescott was playing out of his mind. If Dak
yeah,
Prescott was on the Eagles, that team would have won two more Super Bowls. Like
yeah,
Dak
no, for
is
sure. I
ridiculous.
don't
He's
know for
such an athlete.
he's great. He's awesome. I think he has his
Yeah,
issues in big games, but he's still very good. Definitely
right.
better than Jalen Hurts right now. But
Yes,
it
right now I agree.
feels like while the Cowboys seem to be a lot more hopeful and optimistic, the Eagles seem to be just in a lot of dread over
Right.
a lot of unfinished business in the offseason. But moving on to the two bottom feeders of the division, the commies took advantage of capitalism very much so. They signed a lot of players in free.
That's
I,
good.
I was thinking about that in my head the whole time I was looking for it. I was like, this is
That was good.
perfect. Absolutely perfect. But Washington did get a lot of players in free agency for a lot of money. They landed edge rusher Odafe Owe, edge rusher Caleb on Chason, tight end Chico Conquo, linebacker Leo Chanel, and defensive tackle Tim Settle. I like a lot of these moves, honestly. I'm a big fan of, especially the Leo Chanel deal. That was a steal in my
Yeah.
book. But do you feel like this free agency, do you feel like the moves that they've made have helped the Commanders jump back to playoff contention? And if not, what do you think they need to do?
Playoff contention, yes. However, I wouldn't really put them in division contenders quite yet. To me, the Commanders still lack, first of all, youth more than anything. It
Mhm.
seems like they're kind of aging on both fronts of the ball, and in a way, Jaden Daniels is aging in a way that he shouldn't be at 20, where however old he is, with these injuries happening. But more important than that, I mean, when you're going in to your season with Eckler being your running back one or whatever, or Debo being your wide receiver two behind McLaurin. Actually, really specifically speaking, the wide receiver room is the most concerning part to me.
Yeah, it's
There's just isn't really much going on there. McLaurin was signed to an abhorrent contract that did not end up working out, which I will say this. I understand the contract looking back on it because when your rookie quarterback had such a good connection with this veteran guy who's it seems to be like the absolute cornerstone of this offense, you want to make sure that he has that connection for as long as he can. But it's not working out anymore. The wide receiver room is falling apart. They really don't have an answer to the running back room. I still think they need those things before they can really be in contention for the division. However, could I see them slipping into the 7th seed? 100%.
yeah, it just feels like they got a lot of like Dan Quinn defense style guys because he's coming back to
Yes.
calling plays in the defensive side. They signed a lot of that, but they
Right.
still have a lot of issues and even offensive line too. Their offensive line play was bad, and they
Right.
cut a lot of their players from last season. They cut Tyler Biadasz, the center. I believe they got rid of a right tackle as well. The wide receiver room is really bad too, and even the running
Yes.
back room is bad. Like
Right.
it's Austin Eckler and Ja'Cory Croskey. It says something when Jeremiah Love is being mocked to you with the pick you
Right.
have now. And that's just so crazy. Like you never expect a running back to be mocked to you, but that's just how like the Commanders just need so much on top of all this.
Agreed.
Uh, but uh,
Definitely.
finishing off with the New York Giants, they get a lot of Harbaugh's old pets here. They get Isaiah Likely from the Ravens. They get their punter. They get their fullback. They get a safety, Ardarius Washington. But they also made a couple low-key moves here too. They got linebacker Tremaine Edmonds, wide receiver Darnell Mooney on a one-year deal, and corner Greg Newsome on a one-year deal as well. A couple good high risk, high reward moves here, but how do you feel like the Giants approach the NFL draft after this offseason?
Attack edge. mainly, I think, is probably the most important thing for this New York team. They need to keep tacking the edge, perhaps bring in, somebody else at safety, even though we just saw the Ardarius Washington signing. I mean, I feel a lot of promise for this New York team. They're young, they've got a lot of weapons on both sides of the ball. I like the Tremaine Edmonds signing, although I wish, I still think they need to bring in more for that linebacker room. O-line, just keep beefing that up. I will say this small side note. I keep seeing discourse online with people saying that Darnell Mooney is underrated. Guys, guy who signed to a $54 million contract is not underrated. And when he doesn't live up to those expectations and the team has to cut him, that does not make him underrated. I don't understand it. Everyone keeps calling him underrated. He got his chance to be correctly rated and was signed to a $54 million contract or whatever it was. And we cut him because it didn't work out because he wasn't worth that much. So, I mean, I do think that he has a lot of upside if he's healthy and he stays consistent. But I wouldn't honestly expect too much out of him this upcoming season, especially with Jackson Dart, a quarterback who, don't get me wrong, had a fantastic rookie season, but let's not forget this guy's young and tends to lead with his head a little bit too much. So the Darnell Mooney signing isn't like it doesn't absolutely blow me away. I even think $10 million is a little bit of like okay, you might have to eat this one depending on how this goes. But I mean, honestly, kind of like this offseason for the New York Giants, and I think there's a lot of promise with these young guys.
Yeah, the Darnell Mooney signing just looked a little bit rich for the blood, especially Mooney. Dart is
Yeah,
going through maybe a sophomore slump next season too. Like, we'll see about that.
definitely.
But
Definitely possible.
I think the Giants could go many ways in the draft. I could see them going offensive lineman, actually,
Yeah,
just
they need to
to
beef up the OL.
get alongside, uh, get alongside Andrew Thomas. Although they signed Evan Neal to a
Right.
completely incentives, it might have
Yeah,
been the funniest
I
deal
saw that.
ever,
I, for-
dude.
I forgot
Absolutely
about that.
no guaranteed money on it at all.
Dude, his
Bro is playing for
agent.
every penny.
Oh my God, dude. His agent must have just been like, dude, I'm sorry. I tried. I really did.
It's like this is so funny.
It could be the worst
Imagine
contract in
like
NFL history.
imagine seeing him get drafted with like the sixth pick in the draft as a Giants fan, being so excited. And then like not even 4 years later, he's getting signed to a deal with absolutely no guaranteed money on it back to the
Dude, he's
Giants.
like a freelance worker now. He went
Yeah,
from
he's an
being a sixth
independent
overall pick to a
contractor.
freelancer. Like, yeah, dude, this is insane. It's
Oh my
hilarious.
gosh,
I mean,
dude.
it could be like the worst contract for a player in NFL history, depending on how things go, because you're asking Evan Neal to play for his money.
Yeah. But
It's
that's the
insane.
thing. Like he's now going to be under a new coach instead of
Right.
Brian Dable, that system, he's now going to John Harbaugh. And the Ravens have always had good offensive linemen. Like they've always developed good first round offensive linemen. So it's a really, really big, I don't want to say it's a big risk. It's a very small risk for the Giants to
Right.
sign Evan Neal.
Yeah.
No guaranteed money. Not even risk at all. But I think the Giants, I don't know if they let just go with Evan Neal at tackle or they draft a tackle and just move Neal to guard. I'm just interested to see how if the Giants go offensive line in this draft. But speaking of offensive linemen, the Chicago Bears lost a major piece of that with Drew Dalman surprisingly retiring. They traded for Garrett Bradbury to replace him. They also lost DJ Moore, although that was kind of expected. But the Bears signed Devin Bush to replace Tremaine Edmonds, along with interior defensive lineman Neville Gallimore and safety Kobe Bryant. I don't come away feeling like particularly like impressed with the Bears offseason. Like you're gonna take it or leave it. But what do you feel like the Bears need to do to build a team capable of being a Super Bowl contender?
I mean, at this point, it really is a time thing. You've got a lot of the pieces there, especially on offense, I'd say. If I'm Chicago, I still need some more attacking at the edge. I know they've, made some moves, but I'd be looking for a big name here. And I'm not even just saying Max Crosby. Maybe trade up in the draft. This is a pretty good edge draft class, but I'd definitely look for something edge wise. I really just think it's time, though. I mean, Caleb Williams' development seems to be very well on track. Luther Burden seems to be playing well. Colson Loveland seems to be falling into the system well. And that running back duo has also been phenomenal. I think you just got to give it time and let this team keep building up. You overachieved phenomenally. And if you can get back to where you did last season and being in overtime for the NFC Championship, I think that, hats off to you.
Yeah, it just feels like the Bears were a little bit like running on a bit of a fluke. Although when you look at the style of play that Caleb
Right.
Williams had, like the way that he was able to close out games, it was really impressive. I think that he has a lot to grow,
Agreed.
and I could see the offense growing. But I'm still concerned about this defense. Not even just in the edge rush room, in the secondary
The
especially. They lose a
secondary.
lot of
Yes,
players in that
definitely.
secondary. That was already pretty bad. Nashawn Wright is gone. Jaquan Brisker is gone. Kevin Byard is gone. They desperately need to get
Yep.
secondary. I've seen a lot of people mock Dylan Thieneman to them. I really hope if I'm a Bears fan, I hope that he ends up going there because he could go a lot of places. He's a very good athlete, but the Bears absolutely need to address their secondary, either a safety or a corner in the 2026 draft. But speaking of running back, two-headed monsters in running back rooms, the Lions decided to get rid of Knuckles and Knuckles and Sonic. They move on from
Yeah.
David Montgomery. They acquired Juice Scruggs, a fourth and a seventh. They signed Isaiah Pacheco to replace him and signed a rotational offensive lineman in Cade Mays. Not a very impressive offseason from Detroit, I don't think. Do you feel like this team is even like in like contention for the NFC North as much?
It's hard to say. Last season was kind of an injury-riddled season, especially with the O-line. That's still my biggest issue with this team is the offensive line.
Yeah, and
I
the
just need
secondary.
more, and I believe they had I believe Taylor Decker retired on top of that, if I'm not mistaken.
Frank Ragnow, I think,
So
but
this
yeah.
Detroit team took another hit. Oh, it was Ragnar. Sorry, yeah.
Mhm.
Decker's still there,
They
but
they cut
this
Decker
team
earlier
is
this year.
taking. That's what it was, right? The point is their O line is thinning down. That's kind of my biggest concern. I will be honest with you. I'd rather have Isaiah Pacheco than David Montgomery at this point in both their careers. I love David Montgomery. He's one of my favorite players in the NFL, but I don't really mind this move for Detroit. I think you still have one of the best running back rooms in the league by far. And not only that, but their running back room is considerably better than ours. I mean, we don't have an RB2 response like Pacheco. So
Yeah,
I
I
do
get
think
it.
that's something to note. The issue is Detroit has all the pieces. It's just not fitting together right now. And it seems to be on the defensive side of the ball and on top of that, the O-line.
Yeah, I think that they could definitely improve their secondary as well, similar to the Bears. Feels like every single team in the NFC North needs secondary help, but we'll get into that with the Packers. They shipped Rashad Gary to Dallas, but they also acquired Colts linebacker Zaire Franklin in exchange for interior defensive lineman Colby Wooten. So a similar question I have with the Bears. What do you feel like the Packers need to do to be the Kings in the North? Because they were close to winning it last year. They just completely choked on themselves, losing Jordan Love as well. Are you good?
Hello?
I think my connection might be a little bit
Yeah, sorry.
unstable.
You cut out the very end of that question.
You're all good. What do you feel like the Packers need to do to get back to being kings of the North since they were so close to winning it last season?
I believe the question you asked was, what do the Packers need to do to be kings of the North, especially with the collapse at the end of the season? And my response to that is wide receiver depth. I cannot believe this team has not done anything in the wide receiver room still. I mean, it seems like a tale as old as time with Green Bay. Bring in some wide receiver help. I don't know.
Romeo
It's
Dobbs
just
too.
it's a little right. Romeo Dobbs' departure was already kind of a, kick in the rear, but I know Golden's supposed to be that guy. And I it's not that I don't believe that. It's that I just need to see something more out of this wide receiver room. They only have depth. They still don't have that anchor of a guy. Bring in a veteran. Bring in a veteran. They need a veteran. I would have loved to see a guy like Mike Evans there just kind of be the capstone to a pretty well-rounded wide receiver room. But without that, I mean, I just I don't see it's really been the biggest issue. It's like Jordan Love doesn't have a connection with any of these guys. There's no like insane chemistry like we had with, just looking at the division, Caleb Williams and Luther Burden, Caleb Williams, DJ Moore even, or, Jared Goff and Amon Ra, or even Jared Goff and JMO. Like all these guys have, a connection there where it seems like they he's got a guy he can go to for a specific thing. And even though JMO is kind of inconsistently quiet, the reason why is because he's the deep ball guy that Jared Goff has that connection with. And the fact that Green Bay has not really found that at all with this wide receiver room just like littered with, these kind of one and a half receivers, like I said, kind of similar with they're not one and a half receivers, they're really wide receiver twos.
Mhm.
It's not even the same issue with Pittsburgh where they have like the one and a half receivers. They're just wide receiver twos all around. And I need to see a little bit more from Golden before I can say that he's not that. But I mean, they gotta pick that up.
Oh, for sure, 100%. It says something about like the lack of wide receiver room that they're expecting Matthew Golden to take a leap in year two, and some wide receivers don't even take a leap till like year three or four, even. There just
Right.
doesn't seem to be a connection. There just doesn't seem to be a guy that's completed Jordan Love. I feel like they need secondary as well. I like Xavier McKinney. That's the only guy I like out of their secondary, really. They desperately need. They need a lockdown corner as well. The wide receiver and cornerback class is pretty loaded in the NFL draft, so they got at least. I think that they definitely might regret at least losing that pick that they could have used to draft a guy like a wide receiver or cornerback in the first round. They're not regretting not having Micah Parsons, but it's a it's a pretty rough scenario to try to improve that. The Minnesota Vikings, though, they make one of the most interesting moves of the offseason. They signed Kyler Murray to a veteran minimum contract, probably to upstage JJ McCarthy. Do you think that this move puts the Vikings back in the NFC North divisional race?
Yeah, I very well could see it put them back there. I think the fact that they were able to win, was it 6 games with JJ McCarthy? 6 to 8 games, something like that. Between him and Max Brosmer and Carson
Or
Wentz, they were
nine?
able to, yeah, they were able to put together a season, which is kind of phenomenal to say because they really should have been competing for the first overall pick if that guy was the only guy on that team. But anyways, my point being with Minnesota that Kyler Murray has a ridiculous upside. We all know this. Kyler Murray has had MVP-esque seasons. Kyler Murray was a former, I want to say first overall pick
Yes, he
in
was
the
a first
NFL.
overall pick.
First overall pick with, it's not that he's never shown it. It's not even like Bryce Young where the guy just like has these games. Kyler Murray has seasons that he's put together that are phenomenal. And the reason why he hasn't been there hasn't been because of strictly old age, like we see with Tua, where it just honestly with Tua seems like he's behind. He's like a half second behind. It kind of reminds me of how Kirk Cousins looked in the second half of the 2024 season, where every single throw is a step behind, step behind, step behind, step behind, step behind. We don't see that issue with Kyler Murray. And, Kyler Murray has had Marvin Harrison for a season, Marvin Harrison Jr., that is, and Trey McBride, but has Kyler Murray ever had Justin Jefferson? Like, no, it's obviously not. This is one of the best receivers in NFL history, one of the best receiving rooms in NFL history, dare I say. They still have a decent running back room to the point where he doesn't need to do all the heavy lifting. And you're not asking a guy who's never played in an NFL field to play in an NFL field. You're asking a guy who had one of the best. He went, I think it was 6-0 at home in Arizona that one season where they lost to the Rams in the
Yeah,
divisional
2021.
round.
Yeah, he was
Right.
like he was an MVP favorite like by
Dude
week
was
8 of that season.
phenomenal. Absolutely slinging it. Genuinely. One of the best seasons I've seen. I loved watching Kyler Murray that season.
Absolutely.
But if he doesn't need to be in that form either. That's the thing. He just needs to be a semi-decent quarterback, as we've seen. He just needs to be a little bit better than Carson Wentz, as we've seen, as his team is still able to put together a semi-decent season that keeps Kevin O'Connell his job for another season. So yeah, I mean, this very well could put them back in the divisional race. I don't think that that's actually going to happen, I should say. I think that if Kyler Murray, unless Kyler Murray plays like his 2021 self, there's no way they're going to actually stand toe-to-toe with the Detroit Lions, uh, Chicago Bears, and Green Bay Packers. It's not happening. I'm sorry.
I don't know. I'm pretty optimistic about this. Like their defense is still so good, and the Vikings have not had like in 2023 and 2025, they didn't even have like average quarterback play. And Murray is not like I don't think he's an above average quarterback. Maybe like slightly above average, but at his worst, he's like an average quarterback. And when he has like he's now in Kevin O'Connell's lab, I still think he has a lot of issues with his game that may not be that fixable, but I think if he works on a couple tweaks, Minnesota could be back in the divisional race. They had such bad quarterback play last season. I cannot stress enough how bad of
Yeah, it was.
Max Brosmer might have been the worst quarterback I saw from last season.
Yeah,
And he somehow still ended on a 4-game winning streak with Minnesota. They beat Dallas, they beat Detroit.
they beat Detroit.
Yeah, it was they beat Green Bay, although Green Bay did not have Jordan Love at that point. But it's
Right.
still crazy to me that like I think the Vikings could very well they are very well back in the NFC North. And if Murray ends up being that above average quarterback, this could be looked at as one of the best signings of the class.
Definitely.
And
Definitely. I
I
agree with you
trust
on
Kevin
that.
O'Connell's track record a lot with in terms of developing quarterbacks, minus the JJ McCarthy deal. That's just a raw prospect. But I really we've seen it in Murray already, and that's what I'm most excited about with this deal with Minnesota. Moving on to a much more less optimistic uh, division here in the NFC South, less more competitive, I'll say, but not in a great way. We'll start with the Carolina Panthers because they were probably the biggest spenders in the offseason out of any team. They signed edge rusher Jalen Phillips to a big contract. Devin Lloyd from the Jaguars got pretty pretty cheap contract. Might be a very big bargain for them. And they get a young center in Luke Fortner because why not add to the offensive lineman? They also take tackle Rasheed Walker on an insanely cheap 1 year, $4 million deal. Does this offseason put them as the favorites to win the NFC South again, do you think?
Man, I can't believe I'm going to be saying this, but not only yes, but we're looking at a complete turnaround from three of these four teams in the NFC South this season. I don't even know what to expect. So I don't want to say that they're my favorite to win the division, but I will say that, I mean, what an offseason. What an offseason. And the optimism happening in Carolina when they essentially accidentally walked into the playoffs, let's be honest. They needed a Falcons win, which is something that you should never need. And a three-way tie for the division. Technically speaking, we shouldn't be any less optimistic than they are. But it seems as though things are brewing in Carolina, and they took that energy into the offseason by signing Jalen Phillips more than anything is just phenomenal. I shouldn't say phenomenal signing, but a huge name and a huge signing. So, yeah, I mean, for now, yes, but I do want to talk about these other teams in the division, including the Atlanta Falcons, before I really cement them as my favorites to win the NFC South.
Yeah, I was just saying. I mean, I think it's like too soon to tell on this one. I'm gonna be honest with you. Like, I know a lot of consensus are saying the Panthers had like a home run in offseason. I I'm like okay with it. I don't like it as much as other people. I like the Devin Lloyd contract. Don't get me wrong, and the Rasheed Walker contract. Come
Right.
but they spent way too much money to get Jalen Phillips. The guy, he hasn't stayed healthy in a long time. Pulling up his stats, like he hasn't had a full season of play since 2022 with the Miami Dolphins. You're banking on a guy like you paid $120 million for only like 8 to 9 games a season of Jalen Phillips. I did not like that move at all. And considering that like
I agree with you on that.
the Panthers also did not get another wide receiver. They didn't get a running back. I like their offensive lineman, and that's why I still think that the Panthers should improve next season. We'll see with Bryce Young, but I did not like the offseason as much as a lot of people did. But a pretty negative offseason in Tampa Bay Buccaneers room. They lost Mike Evans, a big name for them. A lot of talk about why Mike Evans left, but they also lose quarterback Jamel Dean as well. They signed Kenneth Gainwell, Alex Anzalone. They get a sneaky addition at edge, Alkeen Muhammad, and Ashawn Robinson, who seems over the hill. But there's also rumors that Levante David might retire too. Just how do you see the Buccaneers replacing Mike Evans or Jamel Dean? It's just
I, I don't even know if they should, to be honest with you. It really seems, and it sounds crazy to say this with a guy like Baker Mayfield at quarterback, who's by far, I mean, one of the best bargain finds you'll ever get for a quarterback in NFL history. But how the hell are you going to fix this? You've got an aging roster. It seems like it's all falling apart. And what we know of the Mike Evans drama, apparently Tampa Bay matched San Francisco's offer. I heard a rumor that they actually offered more, but I don't want to believe that.
Well, it was also like low
But
income tax in
come
Florida versus
on.
California. Like he could have maybe gotten more money to
Right.
be in Tampa than going to San Fran. Oh
And
man.
is San Fran in that much better of a spot than Tampa Bay is a whole other question.
Oh, that's
But
true.
that
Yeah.
dude wanted out of there more than anything. He wanted out
Mhm.
of there. So, I
100%.
mean, it's looking rough for Tampa Bay. I would expect them to start the rebuild next season.
Yeah, this might be one of the worst off
Yeah,
seasons in the league. The Buccaneers might have like a bottom five off season out of the entirety of the NFL.
dude. And imagine if things work out with Carolina and which we'll get into with these other teams with New Orleans and Atlanta, which they very
Yeah.
well could. And
Uh-huh.
you're looking at, again, I just want to remind all you guys, Atlanta, Carolina, and Tampa Bay tied for the division last season. We all tied for the division. So let's look at this objectively. Uh, we'll go into New Orleans and Atlanta, but I can very confidently say that both of those teams improved considerably.
Hmm.
Carolina improved considerably. Tampa Bay has taken 2 steps backwards and 1 step to the right. Like it's it's not looking good there, man. It
Yeah,
really is.
like every single move that Tampa Bay has made this offseason has not been great. Like
And
keeping
it
Todd Bowles
starts
around.
up top with Todd Bowles.
Oh man,
I think
and
that's
having
why Mike Evans
Matt
didn't
Crawford.
return.
My gosh, it just feels like very negative in Tampa Bay. But meanwhile, New Orleans, they did not tie the division. They were only one game back from it, but
Yes.
I think they should compete for the division with the offseason they had. They got Travis Achan along with David Edwards, a very pretty good signing for them, and they bring back Kalen Ellis, who now on my on my shit list because he went from Atlanta to New Orleans.
Yes.
You know, screw New Orleans, but
Twice, technically.
it's a great deal for
Um,
the Saints. But uh, what more do you think it
yeah.
takes for the Saints to be like the favorite to win the division, in your opinion?
I need more wide receiver depth more than anything. This defense has been sneaky good. People are not really talking about that a lot, but especially against the run, it's been a sneaky good defense. Do not think that this New Orleans defense is bad by any means. I'm not going to say go out there and say they're a good defense or a great defense. I would say they're a good defense. They're sneaky good. But I need more in that wide receiver room by far. I don't put them on the same tier as the Falcons after this offseason, which again, we're going to get into very shortly just purely because they are just completely lacking on that side of the ball. But with Tyler Shuck being possibly the best young quarterback in the division right now, so I'm saying that as if Baker isn't young. Um, he, I mean, anything's possible, and I really, really, really like the Travis Achan move. That's big. I'm not happy about it, obviously, and obviously the Caden Ellis signing is monumental for that team's defense. So yeah, I mean, just bring in some receiving help, and that team is right back at 9-8.
Yeah, that's all they need to win the division anyway, or at least compete in it. But I think that you'll get a full season of Tyler Shuck next season. Just need to get a wide receiver though. I want to see them try going after Jawan Jennings, who's still a free agent somehow. It's the 25-year-old from San Fran, basically carried the 49ers receiving room after Debo Samuel left and Brandon Ayuk decided to be insane. But the Saints, yeah, they do need wide receiver help. I think that they should be one of the teams that would sneakily compete for the division. But speaking of that, the Atlanta Falcons, they had one major mission during this offseason. Depth, depth, depth. The Falcons signed Tua Tagovailoa, or excuse me, Tua Fragivaloa to replace Michael Penix. They signed Jahan Dotson and Olamide Zaccheaus. They signed him again. That's a reunion there. They bring
Another
back
one.
Austin Hooper,
Yep.
another reunion. And they signed Samson Ebukam, former Georgia Bulldog Azeez Ojulari, Deshaun Hand, and Christian Harris in the front seven. They also trade for Eagles safety Sidney Brown via trade. We will get more into their offseason acquisitions in the next episode, but how excited do you feel like fans should be about this particular offseason?
Look, the reason why you are not an NFL GM, and I'm talking to the listeners here, is because you don't know what you're doing. I don't know what I'm doing. Owen doesn't know what he's doing. But
Right.
I've seen so many people say that we are bargain bin shopping.
Yeah.
Dude, there's one thing we talked about, and we actually talked about it 2 episodes ago with Trayshawn. And it's that this team is lacking absolutely everywhere in depth. Absolutely everywhere. It is actually absurd how much depth we have. We have the receiving room. We had maybe three receivers we could bring back realistically, and only two of them could realistically start for us. And I
David.
mean that genuinely. We were lacking absolutely everywhere, man. We don't have the ability to not be shopping in the bargain bin. Look, if we went out and paid 30, 40 million dollars for a wide receiver or a linebacker, we would only have him. We don't have the money to be spending on all these guys. We have to be buying in the bargain bin, and that is a good thing. This is what stops your team. This is the difference between 8 and 9 and 9 and 8. And I know that sounds pretty dumb, but there's so many other things that go into it. But this to me, the Atlanta Falcons should have a giant red circle as one of the best off seasons of any team this season, and I mean it. Are these changes going to make us a division winner next season? No, because we were one season away from needing an absolute rebuild. Like very, 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 very close to needing absolute rebuild. If we didn't do this, we would need an absolute rebuild. We would need to start getting rid of our big weapons. If we went out and signed a guy who just put us over the cap limit, we would be in rebuild territory. But with this, we're going to be able to hold on to our players. We're going to be able to go attack people in the draft. We're going to be able to get draft capital with losing some of our players, which don't get me wrong, I wanted us to keep to Caden Ellis, and I'm not very happy that we are not holding on to him. But that's what this means. Another thing that to look out for as a Falcons fan too, and Owen and I have talked about this, is the Sidney Brown trade at safety brings up a huge question in our roster regarding Jesse Bates. We've talked about this before. Jesse Bates, this is probably the most value realistically you're going to have in the trade market with him. This is the time to trade him if you're going to trade him. And frankly, I think it's the time. I think he's been performing
Yeah.
at a level in which he's not worth the value he's going to bring in the market. To some teams might see him as the hump to get over the hill. Some
Yeah, the only
teams might go out and get a guy like that and might think that they immediately makes him a playoff contender. But we've seen from him that he was not performing the same way he was last season, or I guess 2 seasons ago now, with last season being his quieter season. So that brings up a lot, and that's more trade capital where we could end up stealing perhaps a second round pick from somebody, or if we're super lucky in an absolute desperate team, maybe even getting a first round pick. So very happy. Not only that, I'm extremely happy about the Tua signing. I would be happier if we went out and got Kyler Murray, but Tua Tagovailoa to me shows that this is Michael Penix's last season to show us. We brought in Tua purely to show that this is Penix's like make or break season. That's what this means. Absolute, like this is absolutely it. If he does not show out and ball out this season, if there's any question marks above him, we're getting rid of him.
yeah, the Falcons, I think, had a very
And Tua
successful
at that.
offseason, despite the contrary. They desperately need to get wide receiver depth. While I don't think that they hit a home run on getting Jahan Dotson and Olamide Zaccheaus. They have issues in their own. I think that getting those two guys is much better than having to deal with David Sills after losing Drake London for a long time due to
Yes.
injury.
Yes.
And I really like the additions in the front seven as well with Ebukam, Ojulari, Hand, and Harris. None of those guys particularly cost that much, and I didn't even get in. There were a couple of guys like as well, like that got 1 year contracts. I'm perfectly fine with the Falcons getting a bunch of guys in the defensive line room because they desperately needed that. When we looked at the depth chart with all the free agents going about, and the Sidney Brown deal could be very good for us as well. Not even with Jesse Bates, with Billy Bowman maybe not even being the same.
Right.
I could see us
Exactly.
trying to employ Sidney Brown as a nickel corner. I could definitely see us doing that. So I think that while some fans may not be excited about this offseason, I think that this is a very monumental step for the Falcons. If they get
Definitely.
a couple of these guys to be key contributors, then you can get a lot bigger names in free agency next season, and then you start
Right.
getting more hope in the fan base.
Right.
They just need
And
to produce first.
we talked about a couple episodes ago, the contracts coming up next season, at the end of next season. And we're looking at a big season with us having to re-sign players. This is kind of our saving grace with this, where we're saving us from maybe re-signing some of the names we have to, or at the very least, we have some cheap alternatives to those. So, yes, this is a very ergonomical decision. We didn't need a loud offseason. It's not what we needed. And it was not what would work. If we went out and signed one or two big names, we would be just where we started.
Right. If we tried signing Mike Evans, it would be a disaster. I
Right.
mean,
It'd be a
I know that's
disaster.
like that was not the kind of piece we needed to get, especially with the Drake London extension looming. And we'll get to why that is going to be much harder to negotiate. But now we go on to the AFC West. We go west to Rams first. They desperately needed some secondary pieces going into 2026. And they go to Kansas City twice. They get Trent McDuffie via trade for a first round pick, and they sign Jalen Waddle to a reasonable contract. I really like the move
Jalen
the Rams
Watson.
made this off. Jalen Watson, yes. Yeah. I think he was nickel for the Chiefs, but I really like the offseason moves that the Rams made. But what position group do you see the Rams attacking in the draft now that they've gotten two secondary players?
Man, is it crazy to say that I don't even know what they need anymore?
Yeah, it's
I
crazy.
mean,
It's not
realistically,
crazy.
I think edge would be, yeah, I think edge would probably be the smartest position for them to attack. And then at this point, if I'm LA, I'm using whatever capital I can to try and get a quarterback. I would start considering, I wouldn't consider drafting one right now, but I would really, at this point, with this team being as well-rounded as it is, I would start trying to build up your first round picks so you can go for a big name at quarterback when that splash is needed. Because, man, this Rams team might be the best run organization ever. Like,
Yeah.
they're setting themselves up to they don't have a hole on their roster. They have a MVP quarterback, phenomenal running back, some of the best receivers in the league, a decent O-line, an all right pass rush, actually a decent pass rush, decent run defense. Now a pretty good secondary. I mean, what else do you need? Like, I really think this could and the thing is it can keep going. If they build up some capital and they make a huge splash on a guy like maybe Burrow, if he ends up, staying at Cincinnati for two or three more seasons, and you're ending towards the end of Stafford's career, you could very well throw two first round picks at Cincinnati, pick that guy up. Like it's all right here for the
Yeah.
Rams. It could just keep going.
The Rams just it's always so impressive to me how they end up rebuilding the team without the first round picks. Like it's always been the late
Right.
guys for them. Puka Nacua was a fifth round pick. Braden
Right.
Fisk was a second round pick. I want to say like they got Warren McClendon, their starting right tackle was a fifth round pick. Kyron Williams is a sixth round pick. It's crazy
Kyron
that
Williams is a
how
phenomenal
well
running
Les
back.
Snead is able to develop these
Yes.
fifth and sixth round picks into becoming not even just key contributors, stars for the team. The Rams
Right.
just seem to be on the up and up right now, but they do need to find a succession plan at quarterback. I would love to see them really swing for the fences here. I think the Les Snead will do it anyway. Like this team
Yeah.
just it feels like the Vegas Golden Knights in the way that they just kind
Right.
of go for broke and try to get the star on
Yeah.
the team. But I need to see
Yeah.
them get at least one more edge rusher. I feel like I've seen people
Yeah.
mock Makai Lemon to the Rams, and that would be just an unfair receiving room with Nakua
There's no
and
point for
Adams.
that. Maybe with Adams' departure, but even then, I mean, Puka's going to start whatever extension's coming up with Puka is going to shatter the wide receiver market again.
Right.
Um, but yeah, I mean, I've been seeing that too, and I just like it's gotten to the point where they're just so well rounded that you're like, why not another receiver?
Right. Why not just add some more talent onto the pile? Let's just have Makai Lemon in the slot while we
Right. Well, let's just have him in the slot.
Devontae Adams in the perimeter. Every
Yeah.
Puka in the slot. It's just so crazy. Just
Yeah.
how well the Rams are run right now. They moving on to San Francisco. Mike Evans goes to them. That's a pretty shocking move. I've ever seen one. The Niners also agreed I would Drake Greenlaw. They get two lowest Sky Rewards editions with Nate Hobbs, and they trade for Oza Odighizuwa, but they traded for a third round pick in the offseason. What do you think these moves do for the 49ers?
Not enough.
Hmm.
I don't particularly love the Mike Evans contract, and by that I mean I hate it. It
Yeah,
was a 3 year, let me see the exact
it was a $60 million contract for him.
3 year, $60 million. Is that what it ended up being?
Yeah,
I mean, I like Mike Evans on like a 2 year, veteran low. I wouldn't say veteran minimum, but veteran low. I don't think you're going to actually get 3 healthy seasons out of Mike Evans. You know who's definitely not going to get 3 healthy seasons out of Mike Evans? The San Francisco 49ers, who can't seem to get a healthy season out of anybody.
apologies. But
So
he signed a 3 year, $42.4 million contract, not a $60 million contract. It might be $60 million
it's
dollars
better.
with
That's
all the
better.
guaranteed guarantees involved.
Right. But
Okay,
I'm not
yeah,
a fan of the 3 year mark in general with Mike Evans.
right.
A 2 year deal, I could see. A 1 year deal would be kind of you know, I'd honestly prefer a 1 year deal over any of these. But 3 years, not a big fan of that, Mike Evans. I just don't really think he has that in the tank, and I don't think that the Niners are the team that seem to, utilize the most out of these players considering the injuries that they've experienced. And I don't really know what else they need more than anything. It's just been a rough few years with injuries.
Yeah, with coordinators leaving too, it seems like the 49ers just like you always just seem to trust in Shanahan to do his thing, but then they have like a year. They have like every 4 years where everything just gets injured and the Niners end up getting a top 10 pick out of it. I don't know when the will is going to start
Right.
to lapse for the 49ers, but this just feels like I don't know. I want to trust in Shanahan and believe that he's going to be like going to get an 11 win, 12 win team out of that. He should have won coach of the year last season, but another part of me is like, are the Niners could be mediocre this year, and I would not be surprised as well with just like how low the
Me neither.
depth is for the team too. Uh, the Arizona Cardinals, they have a pretty forgettable offseason. They signed halfback Tyler Algier, a decent offensive lineman, Kendrick Bourne, and a run defending safety. They do cut Kyler Murray, although they keep Jacoby Brissett as well. I think I'm honestly just gonna skip the question on the Cardinals because there's not really much to say. I
Yeah,
don't know,
there's nothing to
man.
talk about. They're gonna suck.
Yeah, they're gonna be bad next season. They've like they got Mike LaFleur as offensive coordinator. They got Mike LaFleur as their head coach over there, and they have Nathaniel Hackett calling plays for them. I don't see that going well
Yeah.
for anybody they draft a
Nope.
quarterback, even if it's Ty Simpson. Not playing.
Right.
But
Jeez.
we'll finish off with Seattle. The defending Super Bowl champions lose a lot of players due to the championship tax. That includes Boye Mafe, Reek Woolen, and Super Bowl MVP Kenneth Walker being the major ones that depart. They signed wide receiver Rashid Shaheed to a 3 year deal with up to $51 million. But just what do you feel like the Seahawks do at running back now that Kenneth Walker is no longer in the building?
Um, you know, uh, I don't know, to be honest with you. I mean, I've seen a lot of talk about God, and I'm forgetting his name, their backup. I don't know how to
It's Zach
pronounce it.
Charbonnet?
He was just injured in the playoffs.
Yeah,
Charbonnet, that's what it is.
Charbonnet, yeah.
Um, I do think he's a pretty decent running back. I don't say he's quite like a RB1, take all the touches kind of guy. But with how Seattle has to handle this cap situation, I'm not really sure that they're in a position to make a big splash at running back.
Right.
There's a few in the market that we've already talked about specifically on this episode. But yeah, I mean, they're just really just gonna have to shop the field and hope that more than anything that defense sticks together.
Hmm. They still have a lot of their guys in there. They still have Leonard Williams.
Yeah.
They still have a lot of their players in that core. I think they should address secondary with the 32nd pick in the draft. If they end up getting Colton Hood, that'd be a slam dunk of a pick. I've seen the Seahawks be mocked for Jadarian Price at Notre Dame. I don't like that pick for Seattle. I understand why they would try to do that, but I wouldn't like that pick for Seattle particularly. This running back class is pretty weak, unfortunately. So you might have to just stick with Charbonnet as your starter. But the Seahawks,
Right.
they won the Super Bowl. They're this kind of just like you can kind of live with the offseason and the losses that they have.
Right.
But
Exactly.
rounding out, which NFC team do you think had the best free agency?
Best free agency, man. I don't want to sound biased and immediately go with the Falcons. So I'm gonna try and avoid giving them as an answer, although that's definitely on my mind. I actually want to go with, oh, this is a hard one, man.
Yeah, it's pretty difficult. There weren't a lot of teams, admittedly, that had big moves in the offseason.
Right. Yeah, it wasn't really a big move. I mean, I really liked New Orleans, to be honest with you. I liked the moves that New
Yeah.
Orleans made. I still think they just had more to attack. And I even want to say Dallas, but the main thing with Dallas is what they're going to do.
Yeah.
With them restructuring these contracts, it's more of what they're going to do that kind of makes this worth it. So I don't even want to quite say them yet. I'm happy that they ended up, being able to retain the players they needed to, like Javonte Williams and Brandon Aubrey, which kind of puts an answer to the question mark at running back. But without George Pickens having a contract yet, that figured out an extension, whether or not it's going to happen this offseason, and without knowing what they're going to end up doing at edge, if they're going to end up sticking with Rashad Gary as being their main guy at edge, or if they're going to end up going for a big name like Max Crosby, or what they even end up doing at the draft. That's the other thing.
Yeah.
Um, I don't want to say that quite yet. So I might honestly stick with the Atlanta Falcons. To me, I like how all of these signings are not big commitments. I like the fact that you've attacked almost every single issue that you need to. I think that Tua Tagovailoa is the best acquisition you could make at quarterback, minus Kyler Murray. Considering $1 million, you're paying less than him than people are paying for Kyle Allen,
Or Kenny
which is like
Pickett.
Kenny
Panthers
Pickett,
signed Kenny Pickett
exactly.
to like a $7 million deal, which is just
Right.
crazy.
Just to
They had
put that
Andy
into,
Dalton already.
right, exactly. Just to put that into perspective for the listeners, we are paying they are paying for seven Kenny Pickett's. Sorry,
Yeah.
seven Tua Tagovailoas. We're paying for 1/7 of a Kenny Pickett with Tua. I know Tua was not the best quarterback last season. We know that. But he was better than Kenny Pickett. He was 100% better than Kenny Pickett, and he could very well still be a starter in the league. So I love the decision there. I love the 1 year, put some pressure on Penix. If it doesn't work out with Penix, you can pull the plug on both of them.
Yeah. I
Yeah,
mean, Tagovailoa is a bridge quarterback anyway. If you see Tua starting the field, you know that Michael Penix's tenure is done in Atlanta. That's kind of my thing.
right.
I think the Falcons
I
did
do
make
want to
a
go with the Rams too.
Oh man, yeah. Say that'd probably be my pick too.
Yeah.
The
I'm thinking about it
Rams,
now. I mean, yeah,
they
that
had a
might be
very
the
solid
Rams.
offseason. I mean, even with
Yeah,
I think even with Rob Havenstein deciding to retire on the team, I think that they still have enough to like replace Rob Havenstein and especially the draft capital too. And just trading a first round
right,
pick to get Trent McDuffie, a very young corner who is still a very good corner in Kansas City. I don't know why they didn't decide to just extend him, but it was one
right.
of the smartest moves of the offseason. And the Rams, they're going to be a very scary team next year. That's all that I'll say about that. Which one of these moves from the NFC do you think will age the worst?
Jalen Phillips is the first one that comes to mind for me, as that being one of the biggest signings we've seen, and a guy who's been injury prone. Besides that, I could see Jalen Waddle being a guy who might not step into the position that they need him to in Denver, especially with the fact that we don't really know how good Bo Nix is. And what I mean when I'm saying that is I don't think that Bo Nix is good. So,
Mystery box, keep it open for Broncos fans.
right. Yeah, I'll be honest. I don't think Bo Nix is good. I really don't. I think he's your Jalen Hurts.
Right.
That's it. So that could be something that could age very poorly, considering you did give up a first round pick. And I know it's a low first round pick, but a first, or I guess high. I don't really know how you constitute the differences there. It's a late first round pick. That's a better way of putting it. That could shoot you in the foot. You gave up two draft picks essentially. So we'll see about that.
Yeah, I think I was gonna go with the Jalen Phillips extent contract as well. It's obscene. It's very big, and you're only gonna get about 8 or 9 games of Jalen Phillips. At the most, you're getting maybe 12 from him. He's not stayed in the field very often, and again, it feels like they're paying him that much for the idea of him being of a very good pass rusher on the team.
Right.
And the thing is, the Panthers don't even have like a legit number one edge rusher right now either. And Jalen Phillips, excuse me, has only had about eight. His career high is 8.5 sacks with the Dolphins in 2021. So you're not solving that. I think
No, I
outside of
mean, at that point, you might as well make a push for Hendrickson. If
right,
you're going to extend to a
right,
guy that much money, you might as well make a push for him. It might be worth the extra.
yeah. I mean,
Yeah,
it's
it is
either
actually
him.
insane.
I think it's either him or the Lions signing Cade Mays. They signed him to a 3-year deal when a lot of people were rejecting him. He'd only get a 1-year deal. It's just a rotational
Right.
with the Texans, by the way.
Right.
With
If
their
you're
battle,
rotational, that takes, yeah,
that is
that is saying
crazy.
something.
But what do you think? Just rounding it out, what do you think who do you think had the best offseason and the worst offseason in the entire NFL?
Best and worst. Well, I can go ahead and pretty confidently say my worst is honestly going to be the Jacksonville Jaguars with just, I mean, they really had to, they didn't really have another choice to freeing up cap. I think the Jacksonville Jaguars and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are kind of fighting tooth and nail for that last spot. I think in a way the Buccaneers one might hurt a little bit more because Mike Evans leaving was not required, but was more of than anything a choice by Mike, purely because I think that the situation going on with Todd Bowles seems to just be boiling over. Regarding the best, I really did like objectively speaking, the Rams. I say the Rams is the best purely because even with the Falcons, we're not this offseason isn't going to be a 1 year turnaround. This isn't going to be, all right, we're going to win 10, 12 games next season. We're not expecting that. We're not expecting Tua to even be good enough to start. We're not expecting Michael Penix to be good enough to start. We're getting that guy in there to have an answer for $1 million. That's what we're getting in there. And it might end up working out. But we know that we're going to probably have to pull the plug on both of these players. That's why we brought in Tua. If it wasn't a question to begin with, we wouldn't have signed Tua. And trust me, we did not sign Tua because we thought that he would be the guy who brings us to the promised land and is the future of this organization. We're looking at a couple year turnaround with this, 2 to 3 years, depending on what we need to do to get a good quarterback. With the Rams, you were looking at a very quick 1 year turnaround immediately. Now they have a phenomenal secondary. Now they have the draft capital to get an edge. Now they have the best wide receiver room in the league for all we know. So that's why I'm going to give it to the Rams because we're going to see the most turnaround with them. But it is a toss up between the two.
Oh, for sure. I'm gonna say I'm actually not gonna go with the Rams. I'm gonna say the Patriots had the best offseason in the entire league. I really like the moves that they made. They got Romeo Dobbs, they got Draymond Jones. They really addressed a couple of their biggest weaknesses. They desperately needed a wide receiver. They could go for another name outside of that, but I for what it's worth, I really like
Right,
what the wide receiver room stands at right now. I don't think it's like amazing, but it was definitely passable last season, and it
right.
might be more so now with the Romeo
Better.
Dobbs acquisition.
Yeah.
The worst
And
offseason,
the free
again,
up cap.
I'm probably going to go Tampa Bay just because you lose a franchise player like Mike Evans. Uh, you lose, you might lose Levante David as well, and and not to mention you lose a great corner like Jamel Dean. That was an underrated loss for Tampa Bay. He's going to be very good in Pittsburgh alongside Joey Porter. So I think that Tampa Bay had the worst offseason in my book. Uh, but closing it off, what were your winners and losers from this week? Let's go NFL free agency. Why not? Yeah.
My winners and losers. I've got my winner as Minnesota, and that's actually in general because I think that the Minnesota Wild have been on an absolute tear,
Yeah.
and the Minnesota Vikings now do not have to worry about JJ McCarthy being their starting quarterback.
Hmm.
As for the losers, I have to go with Tampa Bay. Just it's just been an absolute dumpster fire there. And also, I just want to put this on the record right now to anybody listening. Baker Mayfield is the Atlanta Falcons after the 2026 season. He's going to be off
Oh,
contract.
really?
It all lines up. It all lines up.
Wow.
Think about it.
Crazy move.
2026, we're most likely going to be moving on from Michael Penix, and Tua Tagovailoa is going to enter free agency. I could very well see things in Tampa Bay completely crumbling. We just said this. They are at the point of a rebuild. Why extend Baker Mayfield when you're not going to compete for a Super Bowl or, granted, the playoffs for a few more seasons?
Wow.
Just going to put it out
You
there because they're going
named
to bring in a
Kevin
new head coach.
Stefanski? That would be
Oh,
nuts.
I forgot about that.
Yeah.
I didn't even think
That's
about that.
fair. I mean, if that happened, that would be absolute cinema.
But it
Just
lines up,
Baker Mayfield
doesn't it?
reuniting with Stefanski would be nuts. All those years after the Sean Watson trade.
It lines up. Think about it.
Yeah, it
It
does.
really does. Because why would Tampa Bay bring in a new head? Because Todd Bowles is gone after next season. Let's be 100% honest.
Yeah.
We already know Tampa Bay's probably going to suck. They're probably going to win 5 games. Bowles is going to get fired. Even if even if they win 8 games, Bowles is going to get fired. Head coach, what's the first thing he's going to do? He's going to want to bring in his own quarterback.
Yep. Yeah.
He feels
Makes
going to be out of
sense.
there, man. And honestly, the worst part about it for Tampa Bay, and this is what makes them my loser, is you're not going to be able to trade him
No.
unless you franchise tag him. You're not going to be able to trade him because his contract expires after the 2026 season, and that is when Todd Bowles is going to get fired.
Hmm. Yeah, that's gonna be, and it's probably gonna be Raps and Mayfield, and they're gonna have a convenient out. I think that I'm not sure how much the guaranteed money wanes in Mayfield's contract next season, but I could definitely see him being a cut candidate if he does not lead the Tampa Bay Buccaneers to the playoffs at all.
Well, his contract expires.
Oh, it does. Oh my gosh, I
2026
forgot
is the
about
last year of the
that.
contract. Yeah.
Wow, man.
So I'm saying it's in my mind almost a guarantee that he's hitting free agency.
Yeah. I mean, at least Tampa Bay Buccaneers get to be distracted by how well the Tampa Bay Lightning are doing right now and the baseball season coming up, which
Right.
has me going into my winner and loser. The winner for me is going to be, I think it's going to be the round of 32 in March Madness, just because of how
Oh
absolutely
yeah.
crazy it was. We had St. John's winning against Kansas in the buzzer beater layup. We had the crash out bowl between UCLA and UConn, two of the most infamous head coaches, the most infamously angry head coaches. Yeah, Nebraska against Vanderbilt, which, by the way, congratulations on Nebraska for making it to the Sweet 16, dude. Oh my gosh. And you get Florida losing against Iowa. What in the world? Thank God the Gators lost. I
I
was
know. The Midwesterns are up.
yeah, that's actually nuts. And then what else? Texas winning against Gonzaga out of all teams. Texas was one of the was one of the last four teams in the tournament. And now they're making it all the way to the Sweet 16.
Right.
We'll see how that goes, but that
Yeah, that is insane.
really, really cool round of 32 after a pretty blasé round of 64 outside of a couple upsets. My loser, though, is going to be the Atlanta Braves. Their starting
Oh
rotation
yeah.
is a complete morgue
Dude,
right now.
decimated.
Yeah, it's to the point where like the injured starters are better than the starters we have right now.
Oh yeah. It absolutely
It
decimated.
would probably be better than a couple other teams' starting rotations.
Yeah. No, yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Uh, I'm surprised they didn't put Allen Iverson as my winner, but I don't know what he's up to right now. I don't know what he's doing. Uh, I'll have to see about that. But anyway, that's going to be our show. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to the 10th episode. Be sure to watch us episodes 1 through 9 on YouTube or listen to it on Spotify. Be sure to follow the Twitter, the not Twitter, excuse me, the X, the TikTok, and the Instagram. Be sure to follow me at Owen Strikes Out on X and on my personal YouTube channel, also at Tackles and Checks. Be sure to follow my brother on his social media accounts and his Instagram and on his X as well. And we thank you guys for tuning in. Rise up.
Rise up.